Hello, beautiful, and welcome to another episode of The Gifted Table. I am your host, Dr. Melanie Harris. And today, ladies, I just want to talk to you about a recent experience that I had that really had me thinking about how we're rooted in our leadership. So I recently attended a conference in Orlando, Florida. It was amazing. And there was a bunch of leaders there from all over the country, as well as from different countries at this international conference. And I sat at a table with a young lady, and we were talking about our adventures into leadership, where we are currently, our current positions within our organizations. And she's starting a new company for women as well, and I was inspired. And we started talking about how do we as leaders really set our roots? What are we grounded in? So we had this conversation about trees. When you think of trees, what's some of the things that come to your mind? We think of the leaves, we think of the fruit, we think of roots and all those things, right? But how can we connect that to our leadership? So let's talk a little bit about planting our roots and being a tree. Now, a tree that I really love, I really admire, is the banyan tree. And banyan trees are all over this world, but I saw my first banyan tree in Hawaii. They're huge. And what they do is, once they're planted, their roots go really deep. And then they start bridging out all of these beautiful branches. And what those branches end up doing is rerooting themselves and building new trees. So you have trees that are connected and blending. What does that say about leadership? What does it say about how we are connecting with our teams, connecting with our supervisors and the leaders above us? And how are we branching out to make sure that we are building other leaders, pouring into other leaders, and also using our own wisdom, our own nutrients to help supply and be a resource? So let's talk about the three parts of a tree, the three main parts of the tree, starting with the roots. We got to get down to the bottom of it, right? The roots are determined by how deep they go. Your leadership, your team, your organization, it all starts with the roots. Once those seeds are planted, you have a new initiative, you have a new concept, or maybe you're working on some new programs. Plant those seeds. The deeper the roots, the stronger your team, the stronger your leadership. And that's where all the nutrients and minerals come from, the water that helps to build that tree. One of the conversations I was having with this young lady, she said, one thing people don't realize is that trees need wind. She talked about a study that was conducted where some trees were planted and they were placed in this dome. And they grew and they were beautiful and they had strong roots and everything. The fruit that came from it was great. But when the dome was removed and it was placed into its natural environment, because that was kind of an artificial environment. We know how that can be sometimes when we have that imposter syndrome. Oh, yes, I said it. The dome was removed and the trees were put in their natural environment. And the weather changed and it became windy. The trees did not sustain. They toppled over. Why was that? Because we don't realize that trees need wind in order to be sustained. Because as our roots are getting deeper and as we're growing in our leadership and we're planting ourselves as leaders and we're growing with our teams and we're planting these wonderful concepts, initiatives, programs, we're setting this leadership standard. If the roots are not strong enough to sustain the winds, the adversities, the hard times that's going to blow back and forth and test how strong your roots are, the tree will not survive. So how strong are your roots in your leadership? How connected, how grounded, how deep do they go? Are they growing deeper? Are they growing wider so that they're connecting across underneath the surface? These are things we see below the surface, right? We have that surface leadership, what's on top, but what's below is what's count. That's what's count. The second thing we're going to talk about is the trunk of the tree. Now, the trunk of the tree is the conduit. It's where all that beautiful nutrients and minerals come from. It is the structure. So think about that. What is the structure of your leadership? What type of leader are you? What's your style? And is it building a strong trunk? When you think about a tree, when trees are cut, when they're cut down and you see all the beautiful rings that tells about its longevity, how many lives it has, what would your tree say about you? If it was cut and they had to look at the body of it, the construction of it, the structure of it, what's your longevity? Is it there? What do you need to continue to grow? What resources? Are you connecting with other mentors? Are you a mentor, right? So let's think about the roots, one, and then the trunk of the tree, which is the conduit. It's a very important part because that's what feeds the rest of the tree. And that last part of the tree is the crown. It's the crown, ladies. Now, I know you're thinking, yes, I have my crown. I wear my crown. But guess what? The crown or the canopy, it's not you. It's everyone who you serve. The crown, that's where all the branches are. That's where the leaves are. That's where the fruit grows. And that's how you can tell your leadership by what type of fruit you're producing. So it's the crown of the tree, your team, people who you supervise. If you work with people in the community, if you work with parents, whoever your clientele is your canopy, your crown, a reflection of your leadership, which is connected to the trunk, your structure, and the last part, your roots, how deep your leadership goes. What type of tree are you? Now go back to the banyan tree. Remember I said earlier that banyan tree, it plants roots, they're deep, it builds these beautiful trunks, and then its canopy or crown, it grows to where they begin to dig deeper and build new trees, creating a community of unity. Those are your gifts. Your gifts are in that trunk and it is expressed through your crown. Your team, your clients, they're your crown. So how beautiful is your tree? Are your leaves growing and spreading? And is your trunk structured in such a way that it's rooted so deep that no matter the adversity, it's always going to stand? Those are your gifts, ladies. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Gifted Table. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and share it. And as always, stay grounded, innovative, fierce, transparent every day. In other words, ladies, stay gifted. I'll see you next time.